I've had questions that seem pretty off topic, such as B.C.D.S. material choices and S.P.D. distances on the P.P.P. exam. So programming, planning, and practice exam, having questions on it that really ought to be on the site planning design exam or the construction and construction systems. Any suggestions on how to prepare for this kind of, I used contamination, cross-contamination while preparing for one particular exam. So the simple answer to this is no, because like who knows what the heck they're going to throw your way. But I will say a couple of sort of general ideas about how to think about this. For one, the best way of preparing for any of the exams is to take any of the exams. You start to get an idea of what kinds of ways that they ask questions. You get a feel for what they include in their sort of purview. And so taking any of the exams is always a good idea just to get a couple under your belt. But there's also a few that are kind of grouped together. The two that are sort of obviously grouped together, and I would definitely consider taking at roughly the same time, would be the S.P.D. and the P.P.P. So site planning and design and the programming, planning, and practice. In certain ways, the B.C.D.S. can also have some of those questions, especially as regards geotech information and foundation systems and that kind of thing, which definitely applies to S.P.D. and to the programming, planning, and practice. And also the construction documents and services exam can have similar kind of overlap. There's a lot of stuff in construction documents and services about, say, surveys or that kind of information. And the reason is because surveys are a legal part of the process, right? They kind of fall into the construction documents, into the kind of legal understanding of who does what and how these things all fit together and who orders the survey and all of that kind of stuff, which is the owner, by the way. So there are reasons why those questions fall into those locations, but they also could fall into the site planning or into programming, planning, and practice. So I always suggest that you actually kind of logically group together a few of those exams and study for them in a kind of a larger grouping. So, you know, don't think of program planning and practice and site planning and design as totally separate entities, and I'm going to do one in December and I'm going to do the other one in July. You know, instead do them, you know, one in July and one in August or something, where you spend June kind of thinking about both of them, then you get very specific about one of them, and then once you've taken that one, get specific again. But it allows you to sort of think of them all in these groupings together. The other one that's kind of along those lines, you can sometimes find that there are aspects of the building design and construction systems has a lot of relationship to the building systems because they both start putting in these very kind of real world sets of questions that are talking about specific buildings and material choices and specific things. So you can easily have a conversation, say, just as an example, about R values under systems, because they relate to heating systems and all of that, air conditioning systems, but they also relate to the materiality and the design, the detailing, so that relates to the building design and construction. So these things kind of logically fit together, and so there's logic to why one exam could have these slippage questions that come from these other topics. So the gist of it is, A, don't worry about it too much because it's just going to happen and there's no way you're going to be able to judge it and you're not going to be able to guess what it's going to be. But the other is just think about them logically together. Don't just randomly jump from one to the next. Have a system for how you're going to do these things together, and then they'll start reinforcing each other. Is there a particular one that is like absolutely like the best one to start with and the best one to end with or anything like that? No, right now you just find your own path. The one caveat to that is, and there's a bunch of other material, we have another version of this, one of these episodes available to you that talks about the changeover from A.R.E. 4.0 to A.R.E. 5.0. And there are some reasons why you might want to choose certain of the exam topics first, because they'll be easier if you get a few of those done. They'll be easier to then translate into 5.0 if for some reason it takes you a while to get through all the exams. You should be able to do, if you're listening to this, you should be able to do the exams under 4.0. You have plenty of time left. But when it comes to the change over to 5.0, that might be an issue. So there are two reasons why you might be grouping things together. One is for that transition, and the other is that, for example, site design and P.P.P. kind of want to be grouped together. So think about how you make your schedule, think about how you move through the process, and kind of think in that way. The other thing to say is just remember that, like, what the point of each of these exams are. So when you talk about site planning, right, the issue is that you kind of what are all the factors involved in how you would make a set of decisions about where things go? Where does the building go? Where does the patio go? Where does the plaza go? Where does the parking go? And those elements can be based on all kinds of things. They could be based on zoning issues. They could be based on, can the soil react well to putting a building here? Does the septic system logically go into one location versus another location? And how does that push the building around, right? Well, those could easily be in a couple of different settings. So you have to kind of think about it in that way and be open to those different possibilities. Otherwise, you get lost in kind of this silo effect of, oh, I'm only thinking about this issue. Well, none of the exams are going to be like that. They're all going to be going, crossing across a bunch of different exam lines. So I think I managed to not answer that question pretty well. I'm going to move on.
Today's A.R.E. Live episode is an extension of our online A.R.E. curriculum that you can find on blackspectacles.com, the home of online learning for architecture and design. If you need to prepare for the A.R.E., which I assume many of you guys do, and if you're looking for a good way to study for the exam that's more flexible and easier to digest than the traditional exam prep materials, and head over to blackspectacles.com to try out any of our free A.R.E. video tutorials that are taught by tonight's presenter, Mike Newman, and that are built in collaboration with AIA Chicago. As an attendee, and as you can see here on the screen here, we have a couple of notes or information for today's episode. Anyone who is attending today's session, you're eligible to use this coupon code worth 15% off the first charge on your individual membership. If you're one of those folks who would like for your firm to purchase Black Spectacles Access for you and your colleagues, just visit blackspectacles.com/business, which is this fourth link here, and we'll send all the information for your firm to get set up. And also from now until the 15th of next month, firm memberships are 15% off if you mention this episode when you submit your form through blackspectacles.com/business. Also on this, you'll see that our next webinar will be on May 27th with Mike at 6 o'clock. So if you'd like to register for it, here's the registration link. We're still firming up the details and the actual topic. So if you have any suggestions and would like Mike to cover a specific topic, or would like us to interview someone in particular about a specific topic, please let us know.